What's up, guys? You're listening to the Airtime Misfits Podcast. I am your host, Adam, alongside Nick.
How's it going, guys?
And we have a wicked episode for you today. This might not be my favorite coaster, but it happens to be at my favorite amusement park. And so I'm pretty excited to talk about Wicked Twister.
Stay tuned. Twister premiered in 2002, May 5th of 2002. So shout out to Cinco de Mayo. Yeah, big way to go. I can't imagine getting loaded up on booze and
then riding Wicked Twister. No,
that might
bad
be
idea.
Bad idea. Okay. But it was of course, as in true Cedar Point fashion, it was a record-breaking coaster, 215 feet in height. Didn't mean to say height. A drop of 206 feet and a launch speed of 72 miles per hour. So really pushed the limits. The impulse model was not new. Intimate impulse model was not a new concept when Wicked Twister was built, but it was certainly the biggest, the baddest, and of course, one to a force to be reckoned with that line. So
and this was the first one to be a double twisting impulse model.
Right. Yeah. And it was, I believe, it might be the only one that was ever built, if I'm correct.
I think this past season, 2021, one just opened in China or like somewhere in Asia.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Like the third generation impulse model.
You're right. Yep. I do see that. Okay. But yeah, I remember seeing commercials for this, which we'll watch later.
Yes.
But just living in that area, seeing commercials for it in the off season and just thinking because I don't know in Cleveland we did have another impulse, which is odd that there would be two impulses in the same market. At Geauga Lake we had Superman, which became Steel Venom.
Yep.
But that was obviously just with the twist and then the spike.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing commercials for this, just thinking it was genuinely unlike anything, even in comparison to Superman at the time. Just this was unlike anything I'd ever seen. It was really interesting to me.
Yeah. And of course, in Cedar Point fashion, as you said, when it opened, it broke records as the tallest, fastest double twisting impulse. I think it also broke the record at the time for Cedar Point having the most coasters over 200 feet. It probably,
Correct.
I mean, it seems like probably even before that, it probably had the record. But anyways, this was the first impulse coaster that I rode on, and I had never gone to Geauga Lake, so I wasn't really familiar with Superman. So to me, when in 2002, when I saw this for the first time, or in 2001 when they revealed that they were building it, it was pretty mind-blowing to me.
Mm-hmm.
And the location on the beach is a great location.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
They removed the former aquarium building that was along the beach there, and the entry plaza to Wicked Twister took that space. So it's a perfect spot. It looks great. It really opened up the view at the beach. I was really excited to get to the park and ride it. And not only at the time, if you'll remember, in 2000 we got Millennium Force.
Mm-hmm.
So in 2002 to get another coaster like so soon was pretty awesome.
Right. And then, that was sort of when Cedar Fair was just going a little crazy. I mean, they had Dragster the year after Wicked Twister came out, and they just kind of kept going from there. I think their next big one might have been Maverick at that point. But anyway, I mean, they were really loading them in. And I think at this point we were at the height of the coaster wars. We were really trying to stay neck and neck with Magic Mountain in terms of the count. And so, but Wicked Twister was a good filler, though. It took up a small plot of land, and it really just made sense for the park.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think you're right. I think this was kind of at the tail end, for Cedar Point anyways, of the coaster wars, because throughout the 90s, kind of in the start, Magnum came in 89, and then from then on through the 90s into the early 2000s, that was when, Cedar Point was adding a large coaster every other year.
Yep.
And yeah, so all the way up until Top Thrill Dragster, which was 2003. I think after that, we waited until 2007 for Maverick, I believe.
Yep.
So I think, yeah, up till about 2003, that was kind of like the peak of the Coaster Wars. So yeah, this was kind of lumped in there. And it was surprising, we got Millennium Force 2000, Wicked Twister 2002, and then get another like large, huge coaster in 2003. It was like, we were really spoiled with us,
Oh, absolutely.
Nick and I consider, I would say, Cedar Point our home park.
Right.
And yeah, to get 3 coasters in a matter of 4 years.
And record breakers at that.
Right.
These wasn't these were no small potatoes.
Right.
These were real big forces to be reckoned with again.
They were big potatoes.
They were big Idaho spuds.
But so with Wicked Twister though, it was overshadowed pretty quickly. It was kind of forgotten pretty quickly, especially with Top Thrill Dragster. And even at the announcement of Wicked Twister, which came on November 20th, 2001, if you think back to then, you were about a month removed from 9/11.
Right.
So the mindset of the country was in a totally different place. So Wicked Twister kind of fell under the radar for a long time and then was quickly overshadowed by Top Thrill Dragster and still kind of in the shadow of Millennium Force at the time. So
yes,
like, it was always kind of a filler coaster. I think that's a good way to put it, like you said. I mean, it's a really massive filler coaster, but yeah, nonetheless, like I think it was always just kind of like a filler coaster.
Yeah, it was never meant to be a premier attraction. It was, I guess, in a sense, a GP pleaser just because of its look. It really added a lot to the skyline.
Yeah.
And with its color scheme, it kind of popped out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when they installed this coaster, it was not under any, I don't think they had any intention for it to be kind of what people would come to the park to ride. It was just sort of a filler.
A glorified flat ride. Sort of like
essentially, yeah. And that's, I honestly, I didn't write it for the longest time because I don't do super well with spinning, and I just kind of got in my head about it. I was like, oh man, it spins. I don't know. But when I finally wrote it, I was like, oh, it's no big deal.
Right. I was gonna say the impulse coaster was never like my favorite type of coaster.
No.
Especially once you've been on one, you don't really feel the need to ride another one unless you want the credit for it.
Yes.
But this was my favorite of the impulse coasters, being that like it had the double twisting spikes. But other than that, I like the launch a lot. But other than that, it's not something I ever really rode at Cedar Point like in the last decade, just because it wasn't something I feel like I needed to wait to ride.
Sure, yeah.
Even if it was a walk-on, I would usually just kind of skip it.
Yeah, exactly. And when I was in high school, I kind of had a route when I would go, I'd get my season pass, and we always started at Wicked Twister because it was sort of the one that you could knock out early on, and you knew there wasn't gonna be a line. It would be a station wait if anything.
Right.
So I would just do it to kind of, I guess, start off my route and work my way to the back of the park. But ultimately, I mean, it was never a coaster, and honestly, like, it got to be, I'd say over the past 8 or 10 years, it's gotten to be really kind of rough, almost like not very graceful when you come into the final breaks. The launch itself is a little discombobulating. There was a day where it was a lot smoother and a lot more enjoyable and kind of a good way to kick off the day at Cedar Point. But toward the end there, I was like, man, this is kind of just giving me a headache.
Yeah, it got a little bit of the shakes after a while, I would say. Like on that launch especially, you could kind of feel the vibration through the coaster. And you could tell by the end, the last 5 years or so, that it was not what it once was. No. And I think, I would say going back for the last 5 years or so, even maybe longer, enthusiasts were kind of predicting that like the Wicked Twister, its life was limited, and that was probably going to be the next large coaster to be removed from the park.
Yes. We were just talking about this a little bit before we started hitting record. But we both have kind of made this prediction for a long time, like years now. We've just been talking like, oh, it's next to go. There's no doubt in my mind. And it's, it's kind of weird now that it's actually happening, you
Right.
know?
Oh yeah. Well, what was the last coaster removed from Cedar Point?
Oh, well, I guess
What
technically Mean Streak.
Mantis? Oh, Mean Streak. Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
technically right.
But in terms of like full on removal, I think Wildcat was the
Wildcat,
last one.
right.
Or nope, Disaster Transport. Sorry.
Oh, right. Okay, yep. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's always fun, with any park and for, me and Nick especially kind of guessing like what Cedar Point's going to remove next.
Yeah.
Uh, what's coming into the park in the future. So, I get just as excited with ride removals, even though, sometimes it's sad. To be honest, I'm not super sad about Wicked Twister being removed.
No.
Um, like I said, I generally didn't ride it unless I was at the park with someone who hadn't been on it before. Most times I would skip it, but so it's almost just as exciting to me when a coaster gets removed as getting a new coaster, just because like the thought of like, oh, what's going to replace it? So,
Right. Yeah.
like with that in mind, yeah, what do we think is going to replace it?
Man, I have seen, and I guess I've seen videos of people like working on Planet Coaster and just kind of like dreaming up what
Mm-hmm.
that what that area might look like. I've read a lot of theories. I really think that personally, and I know you and I've talked about this a bit,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they're really going to develop that boardwalk area. It
Mm-hmm.
is just beautiful prime real estate right on the lake that they could really bring in some more compact, whether it's coasters or flat rides. But I don't think it's just going to be one thing to take up that plot of land.
Mm-hmm.
What I foresee happening is I think they're going to get rid of Max Air and Tiki Twirl or Calypso or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And everything kind of else north of Kitty Kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of west of Gatekeeper over to Windseeker and possibly even Windseeker, just depending. But I think they're just going to reimagine and redevelop that area and put several rides over there. I could see a smaller family wooden coaster, which you and I have talked. That is what Cedar Point
They
needs
need one, yeah.
desperately,
Yes.
desperately, and that would fit perfectly over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could also put, whether it's a wild mouse or some sort of flat ride or a few flat rides, you could really kind of reimagine that area of the park, which has always just kind of been this weird combobulation of, back in the day, it was Disaster Transport, Space Needle or Space Spiral. The Ferris wheel was over there.
The
Chaos was
aquarium,
over there.
right.
They just kind of pushed everything over there that
Right.
just didn't really fit in anywhere else.
Well,
So
even Ocean Motion used to be over there.
yeah, Ocean Motion used to be over there. There's a real opportunity here to, I guess, kind of revitalize that section of the park and make it
yeah.
one cohesive area.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So,
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines of thinking as you. Max Air has been closed all of the 2021 season, as far as I know. There's been rumors that people are saying like it's at the end of its service life and that it's probably going to be removed. That children's area of the park there, is it still called King Arthur's Court?
it's Kitty Kingdom.
Oh, Kitty Kingdom, that's right. But like that is kind of outdated a bit. I mean, there's lots of classic rides there that have been there since the 80s or probably before. So I don't think they're gonna like gut it, but I could see them, and even the arcades along there. I think they remodeled those like a decade or so ago. I feel like those are kind of getting tired looking already.
Yeah.
So I really do like the idea of bringing new life into that area. Like as soon as you go past Johnny Rockets right there on the corner, all the gaming area, the kids area, all the way back to where the Ferris wheel is, and then all the way down the left. So we'll have the plot of land where Wicked Twister is. We still have the plot of land where the stadium was, where they held like the I forget the name of the show, like the BMX and biking show.
I'm drawing a blank. Yeah,
It's the
I know what you're talking about.
Oceana Stadium. Yeah. So like that is still available. Like lately, I think the last 2 seasons they've like set up like temporary stages and stuff. So it's pretty much just like a big lawn. Anyways, and I always had the feeling when they took that out that they were saving that for something. So anyways, there's tons of room to work with. And there's been rumors for a long time. People have been asking for some kind of either a pier or a boardwalk along that the beach there. I think that's a fantastic idea. A lot of the reason why they removed disaster transport was to free up the view of
Yes.
Lake Erie right there. So
Yeah.
I think, this is another way that they can really take advantage of that view. But yeah, Cedar Point desperately needs a family style coaster because they have 2 kids coasters, and then, I guess their family style coasters would be like Mine Ride and Iron Dragon, maybe.
Yeah, and then kind of working up to like Corkscrew and
Right, and
Gemini from
Gemini.
there.
Yeah, but they could use a good family coaster. I love Gravity Group, like Kentucky Flyer, Kentucky Kingdom's a great example.
Yes.
Um, Cedar Point desperately needs a good wooden coaster. I love Blue
Yeah.
Streak, but they need something, newer. So I think that would be great. But I think like you, I think it's gonna be more than just one ride. I think it's
Yeah.
gonna be multiple things. Another rumor or idea that people have mentioned online is Cedar Point adding some new like dining hall. Carowinds
Yeah.
has
I'd
one.
heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, Carowinds has one. Canada's Wonderland just announced that they're going to be adding one. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like a giant hall with a few different food vendors and then like a stage indoors. Busch Gardens has Williamsburg has one called the Fest House, I think, in their German area.
Yep, they
Uh,
do.
so I could see Cedar Point doing something like that. I don't think that would be the only thing, but that could be something that they could have over there in addition to some rides and like really play up that like boardwalk theme.
Yeah, yeah. If that was all they were to add would be like the dining hall or something
Hmm.
like that, it would be such a wasted opportunity, I
Yes.
think, because I think like yeah, you're seeing more Cedar Fair parks kind of buy into that whole dining hall area, and it does take up a pretty significant amount of land to
Yeah.
do that.
I will say too, sorry,
No,
they did remove one of the picnic pavilions,
yep.
and I mean that could be a good spot for a dining hall too.
Oh, that would make perfect sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like to put it there because those, yeah, we've talked. Those picnic pavilions were ugly.
Right. And to think, now that I think about it, it doesn't make sense for them, wanting to open up the view of Lake Erie to then put in a giant building, to
Yeah,
block the
yeah,
view. So that wouldn't make sense, I guess, unless they did remove part of the arcade area and put like a food hall along there, along
yeah.
the right side,
I could totally see that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
over, um, I guess to the right of Gatekeeper, there you have that Lakeside Cafe and kind of those food vendors that no one
Yeah.
really goes to.
Yes. Yep.
So
And
that
some
might be
dingy,
another.
yeah, dingy
Yeah,
bathrooms back there.
yeah, some real
Yeah.
shady bathrooms.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Uh-huh.
that might be ideal too. But I think ultimately, I see them kind of taking this opportunity to really like I said, reimagine and revitalize that lakefront area
Hmm.
because I think there's a real good opportunity not just to keep adding rides, but to kind of make that section of the park more of an experience. Because really, I mean, unless you're on Cedar Point Shores, you're not really interacting with the lake at all.
No.
Um, and I mean, even at Cedar Point Shores, within a fence of the lake. So it'd be kind of,
Right.
it'd be kind of nice to have that. You can obviously see the lake from anywhere, but to just be that close to it is kind of a different experience.
Well, it would also be cool too. So, Cedar Point's kind of divided into different sort of themed areas. Of course, you have like Frontier Trail, Frontier Town,
Mhm.
Millennium Plaza, I think is
That
the
sounds
one.
right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So like you could even make this, I think right now the where Wicked Twister is, I think it's called like Gatekeeper Plaza I forget what they call
yeah.
the
I
area of the park.
I think it is Gatekeeper Plaza.
But you could bring in some kind of theme, some kind of like beach boardwalk theme into that area, just like, Knott's Berry Farm has like a beach boardwalk area where hang time is an accelerator.
Hmm.
But you could, run some kind of beach boardwalk theme throughout that area
Oh, it'd be
and
perfect.
it would look great. Yeah.
It would be absolutely perfect. I think
Hmm.
that um Cedar Point's obviously got such an advantage because, as opposed to Knott's, which even though it's in LA, it's pretty darn landlocked. So
Yeah. Oh
that
yeah.
that beach boardwalk theming is really kind of out of place.
Yeah, it
I mean,
is.
it's well done, but
Yeah, it is.
there's no actual beach to complement it. So
No.
Cedar Point's got that up. It's got
Uh-huh.
kind of that advantage, I guess. Um, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I do think though, as much of you know or as much as Cedar Point really loves to go for record breakers and things
Hmm.
like that, I don't think it's just going to be dedicated to one new coaster that blows
No.
people away. I think they're really going to make it an area and kind of an experience.
Yeah, and I don't think it needs to be a record breaker over there. I don't think that's what they need. I mean, I'm
No.
sure, of course, I would love to ride another record-breaking coaster at Cedar Point, but I don't. I'd rather them do something that is needed, rather, something quality over, quantity, or like
Yes.
like whatever they put there, make it an investment that's going to look great for the next 20 to 30 years. That works for the
Exactly.
park. It doesn't need to be another coaster that is outdated in a decade.
Exactly. And
So
and since in 2012 when Cedar Point switched ownership and Dick Kinzel stepped down, and gosh, what's his name? I can't believe I can't remember his name. The new CEO. Shoot.
I think it's a woman now, but
Yeah, yeah,
there
yeah,
was
yeah.
a
Well, Richard Zimmerman,
oh, okay, yeah,
who I believe came from Disney,
yeah, that sounds right.
or yeah, something like that. Anyway, but since he came along, whoever it is, whatever team he's brought with him, uh, I really appreciate that they've tried to make Cedar Point more of an experience.
I think that's the right move.
Yes, because they have the rides. They
Hmm.
need to just understand that like no one's topping this coaster collection. You could
Right.
argue that Magic Mountain gives them a run for their money because of their
Yes.
amount, but like honestly, you could stack Cedar Point up to any park in terms of their coaster quality, and they will win every time.
Oh, I agree.
So
Yes, I
I mean,
just went. Yeah, I just went to Magic Mountain for
yeah.
the sec. It was the second time I've been there, but the first time I've gone since 2003. I just went a week ago. There's no question in my mind that Cedar Point has a better coaster collection.
Oh, absolutely. And it's the quantity over quality argument, right? Like
Yes,
it's
yes,
just you can have 20 coasters, but
sure.
what Cedar Point has and what they've invested in their coasters
Hmm.
is just unmatched.
There's no comparison to me. Yeah.
No, exactly. So what they're really missing is just that experience, that
Hmm.
kind of that Disney-esque like feel when you walk in, where you
Hmm.
you get the real feely goods and like, oh, I'm
The feely goods.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm a part of this experience and I'm having
Yeah.
fun, and they could really benefit from an immersive dark ride and
Oh,
you know uh,
I
other
would love
things like
that.
that. Yeah, that'd be so fun.
I
Like
would
that's what they're
love
really lacking.
Yes, I would love an immersive dark ride. That's like that and a good wooden coaster are the two things I want the most at Cedar Point.
Yes.
I don't think a dark ride will necessarily be good for that, like the Wicked Twist area again, because it's
No.
another building covering the beach, unless they can tuck it in somewhere else over there. But yeah, I would love for them to get a dark ride. I also went to Knott's while I was on my trip out to Magic Mountain, and I rode Knott's Berry Tail, which used to
Oh
be
yeah.
Voyage to the Iron Reef. Now it's Knott's Berry
Hmm.
Tail. It's great dark ride. It's great for the family. It looks great. It's 3D and all the quality of the 3D the animation looks fantastic. I would love something like that at Cedar Point.
Oh,
So
it would be awesome. Like, and it doesn't need to necessarily be another like disaster transport or even something like
no,
laugh track. Like, it doesn't need
no,
to be a crazy coaster, just a
no.
cool immersive dark ride,
Yeah.
something for all the ages.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess I've started to really think differently since I had a girl, like a little girl last year,
Yeah.
because like I'm like,
Yeah.
these coasters are great, and I'm a huge like enthusiast, but I also want to be able to enjoy things with my kid when I go,
Yes.
So I would love to see Cedar Point really kind of shift their focus. Well, not shift their focus, but I guess kind of add to their already very
Mm-hmm.
coaster focused mindset. Just how can we appeal to all audiences, the
Yeah.
kids, and
I feel like they've been trying to do that lately, and I
yes,
think they've been on the right track
yeah,
for the most
absolutely.
part.
and
So
and I am fully confident that whatever it is they do to this area, it's really going to be the right move.
mm-hmm.
Cedar Point has not uh, added something. Forbidden Frontier is questionable, but they've not added something in recent years outside of maybe Forbidden Frontier that I've been like, I don't know about that.
Yeah. I think I still haven't actually I haven't experienced that yet because let's see, last year I went to Cedar Point was during Hollow weekends and they have Forbidden Frontier closed off.
Yeah,
And I haven't gone yet this year.
no reason to. It's horrible.
It's yeah, just like with the gold pass and stuff, it just seems
Oh,
like it's kind of a nightmare there. But so I am curious to ride Snake River Expedition, which I think is a good complement to the Forbidden Frontier, because I think the stories interact with each other. So I do like where they're going with it, because at Knott's Berry Farm they have Ghost Town, and that's kind of an immersive experience, and the story kind of carries around the park. So I like it in that aspect. Like I feel like it's kind of adding a unique characteristic to Cedar Point that you could only get there.
Yes. Yeah.
So in that aspect, I like it. But
I agree.
Mhm.
It was cool to add something like that, and something that's very family centric.
Mhm.
I like the idea behind it's good, but I don't know. It's bizarre.
The only time I'll check it out for once for sure.
Yeah.
But I could see, like, if you were an older person and you were kind of going to the park, not necessarily to like ride coaster after coaster after coaster, but kind of going at a more relaxed pace. I could see how Forbidden Frontier, is that what it's called? Forbidden Frontier?
Yeah.
Forbidden Island, whatever it's called.
Yeah, Forbidden Frontier, I think.
Yeah. I could see how like maybe that could be appealing to go like kind of hang out there.
Yeah.
And sit down and like people watch or something. Or if you have small children and you want to kind of get away from the crowd, they have a nice playground back there. There's lots of places to sit from the photos I've seen. So I think it does serve a good purpose. It is pretty valuable land back there, and I don't know if it'll be there forever, but I guess I don't hate it.
Yeah. I love that it's a lot more inclusive. Like it's not an extreme coaster or something like that they could have easily put there. But
I do miss Shoot the Rapids though.
Oh man, I know that was so much fun, but boy, that little incident they had that did them in for sure. That was no little incident, but
no,
speaking of man, we could spend a whole probably hour talking about what's next for Dragster.
That and well, we could do an episode about Shoot the Rapids sometime even.
Oh yeah, that's it was kind of a coaster. Well, I don't think RCDB says it was a coaster, but
it's a defunct ride. We could talk.
It's a defunct ride. We could talk about it.
Yeah. Like you said before, though, I did pull up the commercial for Wicked Twister. I did preview the commercial before this podcast. This might be one of the most like enthusiastic commercials I've seen for a coaster like ever. Like the people, the actors in the commercial are like pumped about Wicked Twister.
It was like an episode of Lizzie McGuire or something, like something very like Disney Channel 2000s, like way over the top. I love it.
So there's not a jingle or anything, but there's some like really over the top excitement happening. So, for those of you listening and not watching along on our YouTube channel, it's a group of teenagers like kind of hanging out on the beach, and then you'll hear that they're talking about Wicked Twister.
On the next Thrill Chaser.
Thrill chasing? It's a way of life.
It is my life.
If you're chasing a new thrill like Wicked Twister,
you
better be just as twisted.
When it's good, it's very good. When it's bad, it's wicked. Wicked. Cedar Point's newest and 15th coaster. The tallest, fastest, and only.
Oh my gosh.
This summer, break the scream barrier.
Break the scream barrier. That was a cool saying.
I like at the end, they're like freaking pumped, man.
They're like, we just got off it. That's awesome.
I forgot. Break the screen barrier. That's a pretty cool tagline. And I did like the midway, like the debut year of Wicked Twister. The midway, the ride plaza was pretty cool. Like they had this, the logo was kind of in the cement of the plaza. They had all these flags. It was a pretty impressive plaza. Eventually they like cut it back a little bit to like squeeze in what is it called now? Not Troika or not Calypso, but Tiki Twirl.
Tiki Twirl, yeah.
So Tiki Twirl kind of took over Wicked Twister's plaza, but when it first opened, it was impressive looking. I would say, and I would say that the commercial made the coaster, like at the time, like you could see how it like make someone think like, wow, this thing looks pretty intense, like 72 miles an hour, 215 feet tall, like that's taller than Magnum.
Right.
Which is still like the second tallest coaster at Cedar Point back then
at the time. It was. So, and the animation is just groovy, man. It took me back to some of my PS1 games. Just that animation style. I love it. I think we're in for a treat, whatever's next. I mean, it wasn't a beloved coaster. I wouldn't say that, people are really crying over this one, maybe like they
No.
were for Mean Streak. Well, they weren't even crying for Mean Streak. You know, people down south were crying for Vortex, and I get that. But you know, this isn't even on that caliber. So,
Well, it's I was gonna say it is funny how, you know, people will neglect a coaster and say like, oh, I don't care if it'll leave like forever, and then all of a sudden the park will say like, okay, we're taking it out, and then people get like super pissed off.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I would say, you know, Vortex at Kings Island, a lot of people are mad about that. I could understand that a little bit more because that was probably a more significant coaster to people than Wicked Twister.
Yeah.
But as of today, I have not seen one person upset about Wicked Twister being removed.
Nope.
But here's a good question. Where is Wicked Twister being demolished or is it being moved?
See, I've thought about this for a while, and I think this is one of those things where you could really read between the lines. When Cedar Point released their announcement video for it to close, it said it was closing for good. It did not say like Mantis. It said was getting squashed. Mean Streak was getting the axe.
Yeah.
They did not say, you know, obviously they didn't totally demolish either of those coasters, but they did not give any sort of wording or verbiage. And maybe this is just the English teacher in me that I'm reading into the words they choose.
Right.
But like they did not use any sort of terms to indicate that it was like
gonna live on somewhere else.
Right. So with all that to be said, I do think, well, I know for a fact, based on documents from a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, it was meant to originally go to California's Great America.
Yes.
So they had filed an ordinance because California's got some real strict height requirements in terms of coasters because of elevation and whatnot. So they had filed an ordinance with the city of Santa Clara, and it was set to go. COVID hit, and I really think, honestly, we got a bonus year with Wicked Twister last year because obviously COVID set everything back a year.
Yep.
So
I agree. I don't think
it was intended for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was supposed to be around this year at all.
Nope, I don't think it was. I think it was definitely supposed to be gone in 2020.
I agree.
But with all that to say, I wouldn't be shocked if it wound up at Great America. It's a park that is so landlocked, and I think it's kind of dying a little bit, and it's really ugly with the 49ers stadium there. And it could really use some sprucing up. But man, for your sake and for Mark's sake, I really hope it ends up at Michigan's Adventure. I just got to say,
oh man. I hope. I'm praying to the coaster gods that they will bestow Michigan's Adventure with Wicked Twister. It would be, I mean, Shivering Timbers is still the best coaster there, but Thunderhawk is the SLC at Michigan's Adventure. And right now that's the second best coaster, if that tells you anything.
Yes. Now, Thunderhawk is the best SLC. Period.
I
could
agree.
agree on that. But yeah.
But if Wicked Twister was to go to Michigan's Adventure, it would quickly become probably, in my opinion, the second best coaster at the park.
And in true Michigan's Adventure fashion, it's one train ops automatically, so you don't have to worry about adding another train or anything.
Right. I would love that. I mean, Michigan's Adventure, they're long overdue for a new coaster. The last one was
Thunderhawk in 08.
Yeah. So I mean, long overdue. But so there's a lot of Cedar Fair parks that are overdue. Dorney is overdue. Worlds of Fun is a bit overdue. Valley Fair is overdue. Yeah. Great America is overdue. Because even I'm pretty sure Cedar Fair, they've been wanting to add new coasters to that park for a while, but they've been hitting some roadblocks. Because even they were supposed to get a new hyper coaster from B&M, but plans fell through, and that ended up becoming Orion at Kings Island.
Yeah, exactly. So everything is just kind of in the shuffle right now. I think COVID really kind of threw all of us enthusiasts who read a lot on the internet. It really threw us for a loop, no pun intended.
Yeah. Pun intended.
Pun totally intended. Yeah.
We always intend our puns.
Yes, we do.
Well, I think, like COVID has definitely like shaken things up because, like you just said before, pre-COVID, Wicked Twister was bound for Great America, California's Great America. But now I think COVID's changed a lot of plans. I think most parks kind of like live by a 5-year plan. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if most parks' 5-year plan were thrown out the window.
Yeah, I think entirely, you got like Kentucky Kingdom, right? They were supposed to get what's now Stunt Pilot.
Yes. And then COVID hit and they backed out.
COVID hit, new ownership,
Yeah.
and that's just one example. So all these
Yeah.
different Cedar Fair parks, which are dealing with more money and bigger rides, like it really has got to throw a wrench in their
Oh, yeah.
works.
Well, all the SeaWorld parks and Busch Gardens, they all have new coasters waiting to open. They're
Yep.
all supposed to be open last year, but they're just waiting to open them. And then it seems like I'm trying to think. Well, other than King's Dominion, they're getting Jumbly.
Yep.
I don't think any other Cedar Fair park, as far as I know, is getting any large attraction next year.
Nope. Not that has been announced anyway.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think Canada's Wonderland's getting a new dining hall. I forget what else, but yeah, it looks like next year is going to kind of be the year where we suffer from COVID,
Yeah. Yep. I think this year people just reopened, and we're like, okay, let's just kind of recover a bit. And you and I we're talking about how pissed off we are about this damn gold pass, but look, I'll rant for a little bit. I understand that we're all these parks are suffering from COVID, but this gold pass is, way too cheap, and it's just ruined the park experience.
Oh, it totally
$99 for a season pass is ridiculous. And I don't say that. I don't say that from a point of entitlement. I'm just saying Cedar Point has got to know that everyone and their brother is going to jump on that deal. Therefore, they're going to have to, they're going to be so overcrowded that they're going to have to start turning people away, which will in turn hurt business because people are going to have to be like, well, I'm not getting a new platinum pass next year that I normally would get, which I guess is the boat I'm in. I'm definitely not doing that next year. So, all these parks are different. All these parks are trying to recover from the major losses from COVID. Cedar Point with the gold pass, I really question, is this the best thing you could do? Because it's really suffering, or it's really making everyone suffer. So,
well, that's the main reason why I haven't gone this year, because I do want to check out the 150-year parade and all the other stuff they're doing.
It would be awesome.
Yeah, but from the stories I've read on Twitter, it just seems like the park experience has really suffered from all these, the increase of attendance. And I think they're also struggling with staffing issues because of COVID.
Yes, that is another big issue.
So they have, all these additional people coming to the park that weren't coming, in years prior. Plus you have less people working. It just I've seen pictures of lines for Gemini, hour plus, which is ridiculous. I can't remember the last time I've gone to Cedar Point, even on a Saturday, and the coaster wasn't station wait,
Oh, and I went a couple weeks ago with my wife, and I remember texting you about it. Just you would not believe it was a Tuesday. We went on a Tuesday, got there before they opened. We had our season passes. We were in an hour early, and we got to the back at Steel Vengeance, and it was, it must have been 9:30. So it wasn't technically supposed to open for another 30 minutes, but we got in line. And I'm not joking when I say that with the early admission, we were still waiting 2 hours.
It's just
just crazy. It's ridiculous. And I understand 2 hours for Steel Vengeance on a Saturday where everyone's there,
but on a Tuesday,
on a Tuesday for only season pass holders, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, and another issue I've been seeing too is Fast Pass, which I can see. I've had the Fast Pass. It's a great experience to have it, because I hate waiting in lines, especially the older I get. I just don't have the patience for it anymore.
Yep.
But I think they're selling too many Fast Passes because I've been seeing things like, for example, Steel Vengeance, the standby queue might be 2.5 to 3 hours.
Yep.
And then the Fast Pass line is still an hour and 15 minutes.
Hour plus easily. Yeah.
So
at that point, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Where's the value? And and I was just at Six Flags, and it was so frustrating the way that they were doing their Fast Pass it was on Full Throttle in particular. So there's two lines. There's your normal standby queue, and then the fast lane queue. I forget what they call. There's flash lane.
Flash Pass. Yeah.
DC.
You got to throw DC in there somehow.
Right. Yeah. So we were waiting for Full Throttle, and they were filling. They would do 2 to 3 trains in a row of just Flash Pass people, and then one train of the standby queue, and then 2 to 3 for Flash Pass, then one standby. it was so frustrating.
That's so disorganized, and it's just gonna make people mad and not want to come back.
Right. Like I wish they would limit. I think they do have a limit, but I wish they would decrease the limit of the fast lane pass, because I think that would increase the value.
Yeah.
You know, because I wouldn't, if I was going to go to Cedar Point on a busy day, you know, it would be worth it to buy the fast pass, but I still wouldn't want to buy it and still have to wait an hour and a half to ride stuff.
No, at that point you got to consider, is this even worth it to $200?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, honestly, if you get the top tier, the fast pass plus or whatever they call it, Cedar Point, you know, you're paying $200.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the line to get the fast pass. That's another thing. They have to put switchbacks to buy a fast pass.
Yeah.
There's something critically wrong here.
It's a flawed thing. And also on my California trip, I will say this too. We went to Disneyland. They are currently not doing their fast pass right now because of COVID. So there's no fast pass at all when I went. And it was the best thing ever, just because there was nothing to be frustrated about. You know, just get in the line. Everyone's waiting the same amount of time.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
And make no mistake, I am, and I know you're not. We are not against the fast pass idea, not at all. It makes sense, and I would be wrong to say that I've never used one. I did this summer. Yes. I've used it plenty of times. If it's a park I know I'm not going to go to for a while, you bet. If it's a Saturday, absolutely.
Yes.
But there should be a better system in place so that you're not overcrowding your park, so that your lines aren't egregiously long. And even if it's a system where it's was it Holiday World that did it last year? We're basically like a virtual queue. I'm gonna check in, and I know that in 2 hours or whatever the case, I can come back and I'm ready to ride. I don't need to wait in line. I don't have to do any of that crap. Even if it was something like that, which I could see more park chains going toward that. And I guess the Flash Pass is sort of like that. Like they give you the watch, the Apple Watch looking thing, and they, you check in on that. But anyway, all that to say, there's just it's got to be more of a, like, hey, we have X amount of Flash Passes today. Yeah. And that's that, bottom line. Anyway, again, we understand how capitalism works, and as much of a bummer as it is, we have to understand that these parks are trying to make money, and they're trying to recover from a terrible year for the whole industry, and they're doing anything they can, whether it's hiking up admission costs or hiking up Flash Pass costs, or doing $99 season passes, which is just anyway. Right. They're doing what they have to do to recover. It just sucks, and I hope after next year it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. I totally get the fast lane pass. I just feel like there's got to be a better way to do it where everyone can be happy about it.
Yes. Yeah.
So
all that about Wicked Twister that we just talked about.
Yes.
Yes. So, we went off the rails. Shout out to off the rails for giving us the inspiration.
Yeah.
But
but make sure though, if you do want to ride Wicked Twister before it's gone,
September 6th.
September 6th. So get there to ride it. I imagine there's probably going to be quite a line there on September 6th for
there will be
rides. Yeah,
there will be.
And I'm guessing, once they announced that it was going to be closed, the queue's probably been longer over the last couple weeks.
I would
because if I went, I would ride it again.
Absolutely.
If it wasn't too long, I'd wait a good 20 minutes to a half hour to ride it again. That's probably my max. But
I think that last time I went, a couple weeks ago, I was just so frustrated with that whole day, that whole experience. But I remember walking by Wicked Twister thinking, and I guess this was right before they announced it, but I remember
you didn't
thinking,
know yet, right?
No, but I walked by, and I was talking to my wife. I was like, there ain't no way in hell I'm waiting in that. It had to have been 45 minutes. I was like, no way. And
that's how you know it was a busy day, because just like Jim and I can't remember the last time where Wicked Twister wasn't a station wait.
Oh my gosh, honestly, that, and we walked past Rougarou, and you and I both. Rougarou
that's always
easily a walk on. Yeah. And it was, the queue went all the way to like the Pepsi machines about halfway through.
Yep.
It was an easy hour plus wait. It was just Anyway,
Yeah,
all that
that's
to
nuts.
say,
Yeah.
to avoid that, get to Cedar Point early before September 6th, tailgate, drink some strong cups of coffee. I'm talking get there as soon as they open those gates.
And
sprint to
run,
Wicked Twister,
Yeah.
and you might only have a 20-minute wait.
Yeah.
So
yes, rope drop, Wicked Twister. That's our
rope
advice.
drop, Wicked Twister.
Skip Steel Vengeance, Wicked
Not
Twister.
worth it. Not worth
No.
it. We R.I.P. Wicked Twister. We're gonna
Yeah.
pour one out for Wicked Twister and really enjoy
Yes.
this the right way.
Yes. All right. And this was a fun episode because this is actually the first episode we talked about a defunct coaster before it's defunct. So
Yes.
and it's always fun to talk about Cedar Point. So
Always.
yes. So anyways, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Airtime Misfits. We have a website with tons of cool coaster stuff on there at airtimemisfits.com. Check that out. Thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment. We'd appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening, and we will see you in the next episode.
Peace.